Hello, my name is Sonny Singh, Master NLP Therapist and Transformational Life Coach from Life Genius. Great pleasure to have your good company for this practical video, which is going to go through a very, very important NLP technique called the Sub Modality Shift. Now, before I go into a deep dive into this, if you would like to find out more information about what is NLP and how it can be very helpful to transform certain areas of your life, please could you go to the description box below the video and click the link, which will then take you to a video which will explain this in more detail. Now, within NLP, the submodality shift is a really important technique, and particularly as we're focusing on how you can either reduce anxiety or eliminate anxiety, this technique, if used correctly and used in a precise, disciplined way, can actually help you to make lots and lots of inroads. Okay, now I know at this moment in time, which this is April 2020, and the whole world is going through the coronavirus pandemic, and naturally all of us, including myself, you know, sometimes we feel, well, what's happening here? We don't understand what's going on. It causes some kind of anxiety. So I'm going to show you in this practical video how you can use the submodality shift technique within NLP to help you to move away from those anxious feelings. Now, please do stay with this video. You may find some of the things that I'm going to talk about a little bit bizarre or quirky, but it's all about the relationship that you have with yourself and also investing valuable time for you to be able to work on this by yourself initially, okay? Now, I want to also mention that when we're talking about modality within NLP, we're talking about the three main modalities that we use to perceive our world, to perceive the information and how we interpret it. So we can either do it visually, kinesthetically, or in an auditory way, okay? So if we see it, we believe it. If we feel it, if we move it, if we can see something vibrating, for example, then it tends to be kinesthetic. And if we can hear it, then there's a good chance that we will internalize that as well. Now, everybody has their own preferred modality, their own style of perceiving the information. Sometimes we also use these to talk about learning styles as well. Some are visual learners, kinesthetic learners, or auditory learners. But what's key to this technique is understanding some of the sub-modalities, some of the more specific things that are within each of the main modalities. So for example, with visual, having an awareness of the size of something or the coloration or how bright it is or dull. In terms of kinesthetic, looking in terms of pressure, is it low, is it high? Looking at motion in terms of speed, for example, and direction. Is it going left, right? Is it going forwards, backwards? Whatever it is, these submodalities are really important here when I then go on to look at the technique in more detail. And also auditory. So in terms of clarity of sound, okay, how clear is it? How about the actual tonality? Is it quite formal? Is it informal? And how about the pitch? Is it high or is it low? Okay, so there are actually in total around 30 odd submodalities that are within each of these three modalities. Okay, and for you to be able to deal with anxiety, it's really important that when we're using this technique to understand how does the anxiety show up for you. Is it more of a visual thing? When you feel anxious, you can see something, okay? You see something, I don't know, which is like, I don't know, sharp or spiky or dark or something which is not quite right. And also in terms of kinesthetic, for some of you, it may that the actual anxiety may show up with some of these submodalities. And also auditory, for you, it may be what you hear, which is triggering some of that anxious kind of nervous tension that you're feeling at the moment. And obviously everybody is an individual, everyone's different, everyone's going to perceive what's happening around them in a particular way. And this is really important here because you need to have an understanding that when you're using the submodality shift in NLP, that you actually fully understand how the anxiety shows up within each of these modalities, within the actual sub-modalities. Now, I'll give you an example. It may show up as a ball of spiky, rough wool, steel wool, okay? Which when you touch it, it feels sharp. When you smell it, it smells quite steely. And when you see it, it looks very grey and dark, okay? So, for example, if you are associating how you're feeling with a ball of crumpled steel wool, that's fine. That's absolutely fine, okay? Now, for some of you, it may show up as a piece of crumpled paper. Now, you think, well, normally if I'm in a calm state, where I'm not feeling anxious, feeling quite relaxed, then basically I will, if I'm in an anxious state, it's going to resemble a piece of paper. Now, when you are using this particular technique, you've got to be very clear how does it actually show up. So I'm giving you some physical representations here which can connect with some of them. It doesn't have to connect with all of them. It all depends in terms of how it shows up for you. For some could be visual, some could be a mixture between kinesthetic and auditory. Whichever is your dominant modality, that will show up when, if I ask you here and now to find something that represents what that anxiety looks like, what does it feel like for you? Okay? So if you need to stop the video for you to start thinking about that, that's absolutely fine, because in the next bit now, I'm going to show you how you'll be able to shift away from these representations using the submodalities, and how you can then hopefully achieve a much more calm state, a much more relaxed frame of mind, and hopefully reducing or may even eliminate the anxiety that you're feeling at the moment. Okay, so if you are using the actual technique, again, find somewhere really quiet and peaceful where you can be calm and still, okay? Be seated, and again, your arms need to be down. Relax your hands onto your laps. Okay, it's really, really important. And then I want you to then close your eyes, and you must close your eyes throughout the whole technique. Start to breathe easily. Just inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you do that maybe a couple of rounds just to get yourself relaxed, eyes closed, you're seated, your whole body's relaxed, your shoulders are down, okay? And then I'll say to you, right, how is the anxiety representing itself in you? Okay, so you need to start now looking within, eyes closed. How is that anxiety? For some people, maybe what's happening may just be, something just like a dark slate, or maybe a black wall, maybe a black tunnel. Okay, because you just can't see the actual light, metaphorically speaking. You just can't see the light. You just think, oh, this is going to happen for a long, long time. I can't see myself getting out and about again, reconnecting with my family and friends. And, what if something happens to me? I contract the virus, I become sick, I might even die. You need to find an image or some representation that actually identifies how you're feeling, all right, at this moment in time. Now, what you need to do next is, as you've got this image or this feeling going around yourself internally, because you're in that frame of mind, what you need to do next is imagine you're actually now in a studio, a recording studio, okay? So a recording studio, which is normally used to create songs and produce music, for example. So you're actually in a studio, and in that studio, there are for example, there is a panel, all right? And it's up to you to choose three dials, okay, or 3 things that you'll be able to actually use to help eliminate, reduce some of these feelings that you're having around the anxious state that you are in. And because you're feeling that the anxiety is a ball of steel wool or a crumpled piece of paper, or could be running water or a black tunnel, that's fine. Stick with that. Now, I would probably say to you, well, maybe you might want to consider one of the dials being maybe an actual dial where you would then turn it clockwise, okay? So maybe when you're turning it, it'll start off at maybe 10, which is very high, and then it'll then reduce down to about 0, okay? Maybe one could be a switch, a button or something that you just turn on and off, okay? The other one could possibly be a lever of some sort where you're reaching on the lever and you're pressing it down. So you've got to now try to bring this panel into the recording studio as you are in that relaxed state where you've got your eyes closed, you're relaxed, your breathing is normal, and you're seeing the representation of the anxiety. Now, what you've got to do in this particular technique is go through each of the dials, because each of them will have a function. The function of each dial is to slowly get rid of or eliminate these objects. These objects which have attached themselves to some of the negative aspects of these submodalities that's causing the anxiety. So maybe the actual steel wool is it's very large and it's very cumbersome. It's very sharp to touch. It doesn't smell right. So I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of all those visual, kinesthetic and auditory aspects of the wool. So with the dial, so normally in a session, what would happen is you have to imagine that you can see the panel and the dial is there. And as you turn the dial clockwise, okay, you'll gradually stop seeing the steel wool. It'll gradually move away. Okay. Now it may well be that if you kind of turn it, you may not immediately get rid of all of it. It may become a bit more fainter. That's good, because that's progress. Because that means the anxiety, which is this, is going away. But you're really working hard within your mind to be able to turn that dial, turn it clockwise to get rid of the visual representation. You want to then next move on to pressing the button, okay? So you may want to press this button, and then you want to say, right, once I press this button, then how it actually feels, it's all sharp and it's quite stingy to touch, that will go away. That will just go, okay, when I press this button. And then the lever is then going to maybe kind of reach out to the kind of auditory aspects, and maybe I can't really hear maybe some of the clanging noises it makes, some of the screeching noises, and I'm going to then press that lever down, and as I press it down, it'll go away. So when you're actually using the submodality shift technique in a session, it involves the client, you, for example, getting into a relaxed state, eyes closed throughout, giving yourself time to imagine how the anxiety represents itself. You're then taken to a studio, you then choose whatever dials you want, and I've just given you 3 examples, and each dial will have a function, okay? And each dial is then implemented to reduce or get rid of some of these submodalities that's causing the anxiety. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try this technique, okay? Try it, and please let me have your comments in the comment section below. I really would like to hear how this particular technique has worked for you, okay? It is a technique where you will have to be in a quiet space in private. Obviously, it's something that I can do with you more fully in a more fuller session. If you wanted me to have a coaching session with you on a one-to-one basis, if you would like that, then please click on the link in the description box that will take you to a coaching section, and that will give you all of the information there. Okay, so but please do subscribe to this channel if you like videos like this, these practical know-how videos, and please do press the notification bell so you'll be the first to receive my videos.